Time.
You bet, thank you. We're going to go, if we could go real quick, then we do have to take a recess. Ms. Morin, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. I have before me a written statement, but it's hard for me to read off a piece of paper, so I'm just going to share from my heart.
Yeah.
My daughter, 37-year-old woman, she has 5 children. On August 5th, she went for a walk on a trail in a small town. We live in a small town in Maryland. We've walked this trail for over 25 years as a family, so it was very familiar, very safe. She went for her daily run. She didn't come home that night. The next day, they went out looking for her. They found her, and I'm going to tell you what the court records have said. They found her badly beaten. She was strangled. She was raped. The medical examiner said she had bruises that blanketed her body. She had 10 to 15 head wounds, and she was stuffed into a drain pipe. I went to the funeral home because I had to decide if we could do an open casket for her, for our grandchildren, for our family. And you could tell from looking at my daughter that they had filled in all the holes with wax. They tried to straighten her broken nose and tried to align her face back the way that to look normal. And she was covered with makeup so thick it didn't even look like it was a human being. And I wasn't allowed to see from the neck down the rest of her body. This person is, we found out after an investigation, we had DNA that came off my daughter, DNA from a crime that he had committed in Los Angeles where he attacked a 9-year-old girl and the little girl's mom. It turns out that this man was an illegal immigrant from El Salvador. Tammy Nobles and I live in the same town that Tammy Nobles' daughter lives in Maryland. My daughter lived 15 minutes south of this town. An illegal immigrant, he crossed the border 3 times, was sent back. The 4th time, he was a got-away. If they had at any time did the cheek swab for the DNA, they would have known that this person had an Interpol warrant for his arrest for murdering a woman in El Salvador, which is why he was fleeing to America. After he murdered my daughter, he stayed in the same town where he murdered her, continued to work in restaurants, and changed his appearance. And we did a nationwide search. We did flyers, we did commercials, we've done everything, interviews, everything we could to keep her story alive, to tell the horrible thing that happened to my daughter. I wish there was a way to show you pictures of her and what she looked like, what the crime scene looked like. It's the most brutal crime that has happened in Maryland that they can even remember. Her children are having a hard time. All of us as a family are having a hard time. We have nightmares. And I want to tell you another story. This story happened, I'll make it really short. In 1975, there was a 14-year-old girl who was abducted from her house by a criminally insane man. She was kidnapped. She walked 60 miles towards the Canadian border with this man. No food, no water, walked through the woods. At night, she was raped multiple times. The parents and the police did not expect to find this girl, and if they did not expect to find her alive. I'm that teenager, and I can tell you that what I suffered as a teenager at the hand of a criminally insane man is nothing compared to the horrors that my daughter suffered. And it's because of these open borders. And I realize some of you are disinterested in this because you just think it's a a partisan thing. But these are American people, these are American families, these are our children, and pretty soon they will be our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. We need to close the borders. If I can survive a crime from an American citizen, these people that are coming over the border, if they're coming over illegally, it's because they have something to hide. Those that come here legally, they're doing the due process, which is necessary to protect them and to protect us. If they're coming over illegal, it's because they're hiding something. My grandparents were immigrants. They came into America at Ellis Island. They stayed at Ellis Island. They were vetted before they were allowed to come into the interior of the United States. I just left the southern border where I spoke to Border Patrol, and they showed me their gunshot wounds. They told me their stories about how they suffered broken necks, broken backs, fractured skulls. It's a war zone there, and we need to close it. We need to put those policies back into place that kept our citizens safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nungarai.